Welcome to this episode of Bright Ideas. Today it is Battle of the Jessicas, which is super weird because I feel like I grew up with a lot of Jessicas and we all disappeared for like 25 years and now we're all resurfacing. It's a hibernation thing. We got our alpha powers, I guess. But I'm here with Jessica Poole. Jessica runs Jessica Poole Communications Collective, a recent venture, which is super exciting for her. She's going to tell us all about it. But she's got a killer background in some sports that we haven't talked about this year, so I'm very, very excited. Hi, Jessica. Jessica or
Hello.
Jess?
It doesn't matter. I go by
No, it's your
everything,
name.
but most people call me Jess.
Jess. All right,
Yeah.
so you got Battle of the Jesses, not Battle of the Jessicas.
There we
So
go.
I'll tell you the episode's gonna drop next 2 weeks, but I introduced myself as Jessica and it threw off my guests so bad. They're like, "Do I have to call you that?" I was like, "No. We've known each other for 20 years.
I
No, you don't
know.
have to call
I
me
know.
Jessica."
That's so funny. I have dear friends who, when somebody says Jessica, they're like, Jess Poole? Is that who you're talking about?
Right.
I'm like, oh yeah, that's me. Yes.
Yeah. Are you in trouble? Like,
Right.
was that your
Right.
mom?
Exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
so listen, take us through. So obviously now you own your own company. Very, very cool. But you started in college athletics.
Yes.
Take
I
us through
am
it.
a lifelong college athletics communicator. I got my start, shout out to the University of Missouri J School. I was a journalism student there. Um,
Okay.
had some friends that worked on that played basketball, and they were like, there's this dude that he travels with us, he writes stories. You should meet him. I'm like, totally. Sam
This dude,
Flurry, he was like, he welcomed me into this profession and I never left.
sucker.
So it was right, exactly.
They
So
gotcha.
he got me, but it was awesome. Like I learned, I mean, I really was looking, I thought I was gonna work at I thought I was gonna work at ESPN the magazine for a really long time. Started doing this and I was like, I don't want to work at a magazine. I want to do this. Like I get to tell all the really positive stories about like my friends and like I get to like learn about stats and I get to travel. Like this is where it's at. And for a really long time it was. I loved it. I got to see the world being a communicator. I've traveled to Costa Rica with teams. I've traveled to
Nice.
Italy with teams. Um, I've got to experience the world. And as a journalism student, I was running a sport. Like by the time I was a senior, I was in charge of all of the communications for the women's tennis team at Missouri. I traveled the first half of the season with the softball team. So like
Nice.
I just got a lot of really great experiences and it sucked me in. And so I did that. I was what I will call an everyday SID for a really long time. I worked at Michigan. I worked at University of North Carolina, Greensboro. I worked at Vanderbilt. I worked at Dartmouth. So like journey woman all over the country doing that. And then moved into administration. So was a senior associate ID for external at several institutions. And then my dear friend, mentor, who current AD at Long Island University, Elliot Charles, kind of plucked me and he was like, let's go build Chicago State. And so he was the AD, I was the senior associate at first, then promoted to the executive senior associate, then the deputy. Then he left and I got to be the interim AD for a while
Oh,
and
wow.
was really awesome. I learned so much. Like I will say I look at the retrospective of my career, um, Chicago State gave me the most opportunity to learn so many things. And
Yeah.
I'm really indebted to Elliot for bringing me there, but also just to the entire institution for allowing me to grow as an administrator there. And so then had a really cool opportunity to come and be the first ever chief operating officer, team president for Minnesota Aurora. For soccer fans out there, I am biased. It is one of the premier, if not the premier, women's USLW team. I did that for 2 years and then really had the itch to do my own thing. have a lot of experience. I think really wanting to meld my everyday SID communications experience with the administrative side of things and sports business side of things. And so I was like, I'm going to open my own thing. And I happened to do that during kind of a time where NIL is really coming into play. Revenue shares really coming into play. So I am really fortunate. I also in addition to being the owner and founder of Jessica Poole Communications Collective, I currently serve as the GM for the Chicago Tempest of Women's Elite Rugby. If you don't know, rugby is the next up and coming thing sport in the U.S. Women's Elite Rugby is the first women's professional league in North America, and so this was our first season. We're actually crowning a national champion on Sunday.
Sweet.
So yeah, like I'm really blessed to have had such an amazing time in the world of college athletics and professional sports and semi-professional sports. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
The path.
Wow. That's quite a
Right?
quite a road.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what was it that really made you pull the trigger on your own thing? Like, because yeah, I think we all at one point are like, I think I'm gonna do my own thing, but then it's a whole other level to be like, and go.
Yes. So I think what really sparked me, so I have a son. I am a solo mom. I have a 4-year-old. And while I have loved raising him in sports environments, the freedom to be able to work in such a way that allows me to parent in the way that I want to parent was a key driver. I think that, corporate America, and for better or worse, sports are corporate America. Sometimes it's really hard to gain the flexibility that you need to be successful in both areas. And I have long been a proponent of um, women can do it all. You can be a mom, you can be a working mom, and you can be a working mom in sport. That is able to happen. And so this starting my own thing was able really. Quite honestly made me put my money where my mouth was because that is what I want to preach and what I want to share. But I also think that the other driver was the fact that I wasn't finding um workspaces and cultures and things that I felt like I could be the working solo woman mama that works in sports. I wasn't finding it.
Right.
So I was like, well, maybe I need to just create it. And so that's really was the impetus for it. I was doing some consulting work and doing some freelance work. And I was like, why not just do this under the umbrella of my own thing? And then it really gave me the impetus to think about what's happening in athletics right now where it could be helpful to have someone that has some of the experience that I have
Yeah.
to come in as a vendor. And I think that for me, if I'm putting on my athletic director hat, right now is like a crazy time. I mean, we've got transformation taking place all over sport, right? Whether
Yeah.
you're talking about the growth and the dollars being put into women's sports, whether you're talking about the transformation of college athletics, like there's just a lot happening right now. And I think the thing that I truly bring is that I bring the lived experience of working in the college space. So I understand keenly all of the bureaucracy of higher ed, all of the red tape of higher ed, but I also understand what the students are like and what the coaches are like and the administrators are like. And I think that I could really be an asset as a external partner because I really like to think about myself as a partner. Like I'm not a vendor. I'm not coming in to just
Yeah.
provide a service. Like I keenly care about what I do, and so I think I can provide a lot because I have all of these lived experiences that have led to me opening my own shop. So the trust that an athletic director or an executive staff could have with me might look a little bit different. And I think that right now everyone's looking to have trusted partners in such a transformational time.
Yeah, I love that. I think there's a massive, massive need for that experience in the consultative workplace, right? And I say that because this is such a mean thing to say, but I don't care. There's so many people who get like 3 years experience, like, yeah, I can write a press release, so like I'm just gonna go do that. And it's like, cool story, bro. Like, you're
Right,
so cute, like pat on the
right.
head. But you've not only done the day-to-day SID, I think that's what you called it.
Hmm.
But then you matriculated up through the ranks too. You're not
Right,
like I had my first job, I didn't like it, so now I'm gonna do this.
right,
And I think that you're 100% right. I think that instills the trust that you're talking about, but it also says that she knows what she's talking about, right?
right.
I don't have to worry about her accidentally posting something without changing it from her personal thing to her other thing because she's got 87 accounts. Like it's not even something that would come through people's minds, I think. And there's a massive, massive downplay to all of that red tape you talked about. And
Oh,
I think people don't even know that there is red tape to know that they should know how to navigate it.
huh.
And I mean, it's insane. I think that some people think they can just go and look, more power to people for being resourceful and pulling up their pants, one side at a time or whatever the saying is, which I completely botched. But cool. Work really, really hard for very, very little runway, right? As opposed to working smarter. You have the experience, you have the knowledge, the it's so right. It's you could say these three words interchangeably, but they're actually very different. Expertise, experience, and knowledge. Those are three very, very different
Yes,
things. Your experience is one thing, your expertise is a whole different animal, and then knowledge means nothing without either one of those. So, excuse me.
exactly.
So that's really interesting. And so who are you targeting? Who are you working with?
Yeah, so this is where candidly I will share I feel like I have so many different people that I could work with. Um, I love the one-on-one, right? So an athlete, a whether that's a college athlete or a high school athlete or a professional athlete, right? I can
Right.
work with all one-on-one. I think that my secret sauce could potentially be working with athletic departments to come up with programming, you know, programming and resources and things along those lines. I think that is clearly, I clearly those are my people. But I also think on the high school, so like if we talk about pathway and preparation, I would love to be in front of those high school elite youth athletes to share all of this with them so that when they come in, they are not as wide-eyed deer in headlights because
Yeah.
my SID is talking to me about branding and I don't really know what that is. So I think
Yeah.
that there is a huge opportunity in the youth sports space, particularly as more states begin to say that high schoolers can have NIL deals,
Mm,
like that there's a market there. And so I again, my whole thing is about the people. I want to impact youth to know young people. I want to impact young people so that they know that they can control their own narrative and own their own narrative and own the fact that their narrative and their story will change and grow as they change and grow and evolve as a person, and you can do all of those things really well. So I want to give them the tools to do that and the resources to do that. I also want them to know that when they make a mistake, um, that there's a right way to correct a mistake and a wrong way to correct a mistake. And
right.
so I really want to give those tools. And so I see them having very distinct value at, the athletic department level, the individual team level, and the individual person athlete level. So I think I have a lot of different stakeholders. And so I'm actually really excited about that. Being able to work with lots of different folks really excites me.
Sure.
Getting to learn about their stories, right? Like I'm at the core of it, I have a journalism degree from the University of Missouri, and I like to meet people and I like to hear stories and help them tell their stories. And that's the core of how I would like to impact the world.
I love that. It's I hate that I even asked you the question. Like I'm glad I did, but I hate that I did because I always hate when people ask me, "Oh, so what do you do?" And it's like, "Well, God, I do like this laundry list of things for this
Right.
other list of people." And it's like you're looking for one answer, and the beauty is in the fact that there isn't one answer.
Correct.
Right. And I think the positioning of that is very challenging, but
Yes.
you did a
Very challenging.
fantastic job at it though.
Thank you.
I love the concept though, because you got to remember, like these kids, they're coming in to a brave new world of college athletics. This world has never existed.
Correct.
Right. And in a lot of cases never exists. Even for every pro athlete doesn't have a endorsement deal. A lot of them do, but not every single one of them. So some of these kids never even thought about this, right?
Right.
And maybe now, I mean, NIL was a conversation 4 years ago, so maybe the seniors are a little bit into it, but certainly the next generations will be. But these kids are turning 18, maybe not.
Hmm.
They're dealing with getting drafted D1 or not. They're having their dreams realized or shattered or
Hmm.
not. They're moving away from home. They're experiencing all these firsts,
Hmm.
and they're experiencing it for the first time with the people who are supposed to be guiding them, who are also experiencing it for the first time. So we're
Correct.
building like six planes, two engines, and we needed four while we're flying. We only realize right now the rudder's too small, right? Like, I mean,
Right.
so I love the fact that you're getting in on that very foundational level with them. It's funny, as you were talking, I was like, oh my God, like my mind map is just like I could see her exact path. It's insane. I mean, partnerships I imagine you could do with like a perfect game
Hmm.
or things like that, and have like workshop based stuff, and then
Yep.
that branches out into individual athlete management or team management. It's a
Yeah.
very massive market,
Yes.
but something really cool. Let me ask you this though. So we all, I don't know, I think you and I are probably in a very similar generation, right? And where we're like, we were taught climb, 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 work hard at the expense of pretty much everything else, or not. You know, you're gonna go one or two ways. There is no middle, there's no you can do it all,
Yeah.
it's fine. Um, but there is a beauty in realizing that you can be a solopreneur and it's just
Hmm.
you, and you can make a life for yourself and your family, whatever, or you can build a big business. Do you have a thought as to which way you want to take that? I mean, do you want to do this and where you're like, you know what, I'm good. I can status quo this for the rest of time, whatever, or you want to build it out? What does that look
It's
like?
so funny you say this because I've been thinking about this a lot. I think I think right now in this moment, I I still want to touch and feel and be a part of everything. So like being a solopreneur right now feels so good. And it's a grind, but like I like it. But I could see, I don't know that this is big in my mind. The secret sauce for me is the relationships. There is always a point where you get too big and you don't get to have the type of relationships, and I don't
Right.
ever want to get there. I still want to be able to call people and feel like we're dialed in. So I could see myself adding certain components to a team. So having a staff that handles certain areas of the business, but I don't think I want it to get super big. Um, I I I just think that for me, being able to pick up the phone and call my clients and shoot the shoot the breeze with them is really where I want to make sure that I still have that capability. And so that is incredibly important to me is the relationship aspect of it. And I truly believe once you get too big, you lose all of that. And they're having relationships with your staff that you want to have with them. And I don't ever want to
Right.
get to that point.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a very difficult thing because there's it's funny, I was having a conversation with someone else yesterday about similar but very different about management, right?
Yes.
And we were talking about it like in a sales organization, you have your sellers, and there's some people who are amazing sellers. They have
Yes.
zero business being in management. And that's a hard thing because again, we were raised like you get the promotion. The promotion is logical next step is into management. Some people never need to be in management and they'll make 10 times as much money or have a much easier, nicer life or more conducive to their lifestyle. And it's really interesting what you said because, there's nothing that says it has to grow to be 100 million people and you lose the part of what made it exciting for you in the first place if
Exactly.
all you're doing is writing is like living in spreadsheets and board or investor whatever
Yeah.
updates, that's not doing what made it important to you. And
Right.
that's a great realization or great awareness to have, I think, at this point. And certainly, there's the beauty of it is you can change it at any time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So what was some of the experiences that you pull from a lot in doing what you do? I mean, obviously the day-to-day SID stuff is important, but you were doing that a long time ago. Like, I mean, 2013, you were at Ole Miss. So, I mean, it's not that long ago, but it's certainly a different world than we're living in
Yeah.
this today.
Totally.
So what do
Totally.
you pull from to do what you're doing?
So I obviously lean on, for me, the foundational elements of like who I am and what I can offer are built in that everyday SID work. But the thing that, that I think has propelled me on my path was the relationships and the care for people. And so I lean into that every single day, really deeply understanding um, the gaps that we have right now. Where are people educated about certain aspects? Where are they not? Who is educated about certain aspects of this transformation? Who's not? So I do a lot of talking to a lot of people within the athletic ecosphere, and then pulling together things that I take from my everyday SID experience, coupled with my leadership that I've had, and then how can I solve problems for these folks in different areas. So, like for instance, this week, really talking about, I think something that we NIL and the new house settlement, something that we don't talk about a lot about it is the storytelling aspect of what this does to change to really, it goes from student athlete as athlete or student athlete to student athlete as student athlete brand.
Hmm.
Every student is coming in with their own unique brand story. And so it is on athletic departments and really the greater university ecosphere to highlight those so that the student athletes have the best opportunity to get those deals, best opportunity to have to be influencers, so to speak. And so um, really looking about the old school structures of how athletic departments, particularly in the communications wing, have been structured. Like, is it time for us to kind of like detonate that and think about it differently? Um,
Yeah.
should we be thinking about communications areas as newsrooms, right? Should we be really doubling down on our partnership with campus marketing and communications? Just some of those things that could create some efficiencies that will allow that student athlete as brand to come through both on the athletic side and also on the campus side, right? Because I think on one thing that we don't as there's always this everybody says that communications and marketing don't get along. I call BS on that because you cannot, like, you have to have, there has to be relationship. But I you also see that with athletic communications and campus communications or university relations. There's sometimes like, well, we do the athletic athlete stuff and we do the campus stuff. Well, you need each other. So
Yeah.
how are we working together? How are we like creating efficiencies and pooling resources and making it so that the student athlete and the athletic department story is told among the greater stories that are told about the university, right? So I think just like that's something that I'm actually loving diving into right now is thinking about how can I help? How can I solve to help both of these two really important pieces in the institution? How can I help them talk to each other and brainstorm together and really create because really all you're doing is amplifying opportunities on both sides.
Right.
So, and again, providing more chances for your student athletes brands to be out, more chances for the university brand to be out. It's a win-win if you do it the right way and of course there's growing pains, right? Like all of this is new, change is hard. Quite frankly, I think that campus communications is maybe a little bit more the way that they're structured we should be looking at case studies at universities and athletic communications folks that are starting to move closer together rather than further apart because I
Yeah.
think that's the way of the future. There's just a lot of efficiency in it.
Do you think there's a world coming, where both both parties kind of throw their hands up and say, "Look, we're paying you to play," in whatever words we have to use. Um, your job is to build your brand. Like, we're paying you for your time on the field. It's your job to make sure you don't screw it up. Like, I don't care if you lose your Burger King sponsorship, you're on the field on Saturday. Like,
Yeah,
is there a world where that happens? Are we gonna see an overcorrection? Because I mean, let's be real, this NIL thing's been a mess, right? And certainly from the outside looking in, if it's if
sure.
it's if it's running smoothly on the inside, it'd be a first. But
Yeah.
there was no, it was wild, wild west with no guardrails. Then we went to like really weird guardrails. Then it went to Supreme Court or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
now here we are, and it's like, okay, what? Like, what can
Right.
we do? What can we can't? What can we not? Where
Yeah.
can they do it? Where can they not? It's,
Yeah.
is there a
I,
world where they're like, you know what, this is too muddy? Like, I, and the answer could be no, I don't know.
I think that's an interesting perspective on it. I I tend to think that there would not be a world where it's just like we don't care about how you manage your brand as long as you're playing for us. And the reason I say that is because for better or worse, our student if you're getting an education from this institution and playing a sport here, we have to be tied to your brand because the bottom line of you can either affect the bottom line positively or negatively. And we
Mm,
want it to be more positive than negative.
right.
So I think that there is a world in which there is a boundary. I think that there is a world where um student athletes and their teams, right? So, like, you're going to start to see student athletes that come in, agents, marketing companies, all of these things because they are a brand now. I could see where you're dealing less and less with direct student relationships with student athletes, and you're dealing more with their teams
Mm,
and they're maybe it's the team that's driving some of the conversation instead of the athletic department and the comms person driving the conversation. um I could see that, but I'd still believe that they're too intricately tied together for either party to say we don't care what you do.
mm.
I
Yeah,
do.
that makes a lot of sense. And I love that answer because you're right. And as I was asking, I was kind of thinking similar lines, but I think you're right because even when you look at the professionalized model, right? These teams, like, I can't stop you from having Domino's over Papa John's, but when you're here, XYZ, or, I can't tell you who you can or can't date, right? And,
Right.
we take the biggest examples of that. No one's losing in that deal, right? So I could see where, oh, you know what? Do whatever you want. We want nothing to do with you. Anytime your name is mentioned, don't even say this NFL team with this mega pop star, right? No, like everybody wins. And now my question though then is and you kind of alluded to this, do we have to change the model of an athletic department and how does that work? But do sports management programs need to change? You know, because when you and I were kind of coming up through the ranks, I imagine both of us were kind of like in that time frame where it was like, I want to be a sports agent. And that's the only thing most of us knew. I want to be a player, a coach, or an agent, right?
Mhm.
That's all you knew. Um, Now we're much wiser and know
Yep.
more things. Um, but these people who are in college athletics now are not prepared for what's coming, unless they've been doing their own studying, their own research, their own development. It's just never, it was never supposed to be this, right? So do we have to change academic modeling? Do we have to go through complete continuing education with our athletic departments, even the marketing teams? I mean, I remember when I was at an ad agency working on a sports league, and
Hmm.
we had and it's funny because I had like these PTSD type flashbacks of like you have to have five people in the photo, otherwise we have to pay each of them individually. But if there's five, we can't prove that it's not Cristiano Ronaldo who is drawing the eyeballs or whatever, and he needs to be compensated for that. Da, da, da. So I mean, even down to marketing, even down to what you as an everyday SID can say about that player in conjunction with the team. I mean, we can both agree there is that symbiotic back and forth, but there has to be training and legal and compliance. I think compliance turns into a legal team more so than anything else. What do we do?
We have to
There's
change.
another arm for your business right there.
We have to change the model.
Yeah.
I think that we really have to take a look at everything, right? I think one Ross Bjork, who's the AD at Ohio State, who I had the privilege of working with at Ole Miss, he said something at a conference recently that um, we're still going to graduate. They're still going to go. Student athletes are still going to go to class, and we're still going to have games. Everything else in between, we're going to have to look at. We're going to
Mm,
have to look at, and everything has to be a part of the ROI. Like, what is the return on investment for each of these departments, for each of these things that we're doing? And I
right.
think truly we have to look at, the house settlement, I think is a great, it's given us some guidelines, some rules. I guess they're rules. They're not guidelines, they're rules. Um, it's given us some rules, but it's also given us the opportunity to think about how we're going to um, manage the rules, right? And so I think it looks different in every athletic department. So I personally think this is a huge opportunity for athletic directors and senior staff to really like reimagine the athletic department. We've been doing things, everybody's been doing things the same way for a long time. You have to innovate now. You
Yeah.
must. I mean, even if I'm the director of an athletic communications team, like how are we showing our ROI? And it's harder to show that, but we have to think about what are the things that we can do that affect the bottom line because quite frankly these athletic departments have to find 20.5 million dollars. That's the cap.
Yeah.
You're using all of that. Where is the money coming from and how are you affecting that? How are you helping to bring revenue in? How are you helping to make sure that you're not losing any revenue? How are you helping innovate for potential new revenue streams? Like it all matters now in a much different way than it has
Yeah.
mattered in the past. And you're inevitably going to have people that are like, I don't want to deal with this. But for somebody like me, I'm like, this is a cool opportunity to reimagine
Yeah.
something that is really important, right? If you go back to, and again, as I always go back to people and impact, um, this changes the game for many of our student athletes, right? If you don't come from, if you're a high level athlete and you don't come from money, and all of a sudden, July 1, you're getting $1 million. That doesn't just change your life in the here and now. It changes the entire trajectory. It has the ability to change the entire trajectory of your family line.
Yeah.
And we, like, for me, how we can make those changes positive and mitigate the risk that we have people getting $1 million and blowing $1 million. Like,
Right.
that is the unique opportunity that we have, and the amount of influence that we as people that work in sports have. Um, and it's a huge opportunity, but it's also a huge responsibility as well.
Yeah.
And so we need people that are going to take on that challenge and take on that responsibility and innovate to help to shepherd in the next generation of financially literate, financially savvy, marketing savvy student athletes. That is really what we're doing. And
Right.
there's a huge opportunity to do that. And I think that athletic departments, um, and athletes will have to lean on external, because quite frankly, what we've been taught is, like, we're gonna have to reteach things,
Yeah.
because I was taught you write a game story and it needs to be this long and you need to do this. Like, no one no one's reading my game story anymore.
Right.
They're getting the score off of ESPN and they're watching the highlights and they're moving on with their day.
Right.
So how do we reimagine what post-game recaps look like? How do we reimagine what you know fan experience looks like? All of that's going to change a little bit. And I think it's an opportunity for those folks in these spaces that really want to use data, use research. Like, there's just going to be a lot of opportunity for everything to innovate. And I actually think that's the beauty of this. It's
Yeah.
been a long time coming, and now it's here. And so we need everybody to roll up their sleeves and say, like, college sports, whether you believe in paying athletes or not paying athletes, like, we're not going to debate
Yeah,
that.
this is where we are.
This is where we are. But we can all say that, like, at the core of it, sports can change the world. Like, these young people that we get the privilege of working with could go on to cure cancer and do all of these really amazing things. And yes, they can make money. And yes, they have brands. And it can all live together. We just have to work together to figure out what's the best way to move forward. And that's going to look different at each institution. But again, I think it's a huge opportunity.
Yeah, I think the opportunity piece of it is so large on so many levels. And I think what you're doing is phenomenal. I think that you're looking at it with a calm head, right? For one. And you're looking at it as opportunity, and you started off and I don't know if you do this on purpose, but I noticed it. You get to do these things. You don't have to do these things. And that's a massive designation. It's a very deliberate choice of words, and I have to imagine it's what keeps you positive. And I think the concept of innovation is just that we get to figure it out,
Yeah.
right? And so many departments, athletic departments, are very complacent, right? Especially when you have all the things that make college athletics so cool, when you have tradition and you have this and you have storied history and blah blah blah. It's really easy to get complacent because guess what? Florida football is always going to sell out, right? There's got to be a massive problem for
Correct.
Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, UCLA, whatever. Maybe that's a terrible example, whatever. But I mean, they're almost the ones that are going to have almost a harder time, right? And I
Right.
kind of look at it as, this professional model. As you were talking, I was like, this just sounds like a regular company, right? And it's like,
Right.
oh my God, what?
Yes.
What? We have to be like a real company now? And I think there's going to be a lot of regulation in terms of so many pieces that people just don't even think about, and
Mhm.
people who have never been trained in it, right? Because,
Right.
and I've been preaching this for a very long time, I don't like when people go right from a bachelor's in sports management into a master's in sports management. Like, tell me you learn nothing without telling me you learn nothing. And people can get mad at that or whatever, but honestly, like your bachelor's and your master's, if you're not in very few career paths, they shouldn't
Right.
be the same. Like you need diversity of everything in your
Mm-hmm.
own head.
Yep.
But even more so, I mean, who's teaching these courses, right? Like, I mean, they're still teaching the same advertising courses that I took 20 some odd years ago in college, and they've maybe added social media to it.
Yep.
Not how to use it, not how to do it, because the people teaching it don't know how to
Don't
do
know how
it.
to do it.
But even like when you think about the marketing team of the business, like they're very different definitions of marketing than putting up yard signs or throwing up a digital ad campaign. Like you have to see you said it, you have to see the ROI. Otherwise, why are you spending the money? Like, and at the same time, you have to spend money to make money.
A hundred
So
percent.
if a tree falls in the forest and no, if a game is being played at the arena and nobody knows it's being played, no one's coming, right?
Correct.
So I think it's going to be a very interesting next few years in this industry, and I don't know who's leading the charge, right? Because the people I talk to are sitting in the Stone Age. They're sitting in 2007, 2008, 9, 10, maybe a little bit. Now there's TikTok and
Mm-hmm.
TweetDeck or whatever, but
Yeah.
I I think in the short term, I think the athletes are going to have to take a little bit of the lead, right? And mostly because they're probably better versed to do it, right, through the social media platforms. But I also fear for them because I feel like there's going to be a massive opportunity to get taken advantage of
Correct.
by the agent and the manager and the other person and the other person and the other person.
Mm-hmm.
And, we can talk about financial literacy all we want, but if you don't realize that all those people take their money off the top, your $1 million that you're getting handed on July 1 very quickly becomes 250. Still nothing to balk at, of course.
Right. Right.
But you're not buying mommy a $100,000 car and then still having money left over to go buy the house in the mansion you think you can afford. Like,
Right.
let's be smart, kids,
Right.
and now even I mean down here in Florida, it is legal for high school,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so now and this is I think too, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I think there's a massive misbranding, misunderstood concept of what NIL is, right? Everyone thinks we are giving millions upon millions of dollars to every athlete at every school at da 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 da. And it's like there's like 15 kids. I'm making it up, but whatever. There's a
Yeah.
lot. And
Yes.
sure, it's more money than most of them would have ever made in college. Maybe some of them in their career, fine. But most of these kids, this is not poo-poo. We can't go around poo-pooing like the whole concept, right? When you break it down why this was important, there were kids who couldn't even get a job because they weren't allowed to make money. There were kids who couldn't receive a hamburger, literally couldn't receive a hamburger without the fear of getting kicked off the team or some kind of sanction. So let's call two different things what they are, right? There's one thing to be able to profit from your status, whether
Mm-hmm.
regardless of who it's being paid for by. There's
Mm-hmm.
another thing to be paid to play the game. And there's
Mm-hmm.
another thing to take your personal brand and make it whatever you want because whoever said you could, I mean, the NCAA did, that's not the point, but it has nothing to do with your sport. Like,
Correct.
yes, it's your platform, fine, but is
Yeah.
it? I mean,
Yeah, it's really interesting. I have been having a lot of I've just been talking to a lot of people, and so primarily people think that the house settlement is going to replace NIL. And I'm like, no, it's a yes and. Like you can get money from your institution and you can also have NIL deals.
mhm,
Like it's a yes and. And I think really you hit the nail on the head. I think the first step is to educate parents and athletes on this brave new world that we're entering and understand that you have the potential to do both. You have the potential to like we're really probably going to be looking at classifying athletes differently, right?
yeah,
Because you're going to have athletes that are that are being rev shared with, right? So they're on an MOU essentially with their institution. And that is it. They are getting enough money that if they want to do NIL deals, great, but they don't have to, like, whatever.
Right.
You're also going to have athletes that are getting likely a lower amount of rev share that are also going to do NIL deals. And potentially the two of those together is going to be a good chunk of money. Then you're going to have student athletes that are just on scholarship, right? And they're going to be on scholarship and they may do NIL or they may not, but like their value, the value that they see is the scholarship. So like all of this is it's changes. And I would imagine that all of it can change year to year, right?
Yeah.
So I think that just thinking about that, so that means that you have tiers of athletes or different groups of athletes, which could also inform how athletic departments structure their support for said teams or groups of athletes, right? Because it's going to look different. Your highest level of support is going to go to the folks that you're giving the most amount of money to because they're your high performers, right?
Hmm. Well, and perceivably, they're the ones that are going to return the highest margin.
Correct. Correct. It's just it's economics is
Yeah.
what I would call it. It's
Yeah,
economics.
it's business economics. That's
It's
what it
business
is.
economics. And so
What a
it
concept.
right. So, like, you really have to think, you take how you've structured and then you put the business behind it. But you have to educate people on that because
Yeah.
what you'll have, which will inevitably happen, it happens everywhere, is that parents don't understand what business economics said institution is operating off of. And so you have a disconnect already, which is just going to cause problems.
Right.
So the key is educating and making sure that everybody understands what their role is and what their place is in the business economics of their athletic department. And then from there, and those business economics then inform the structure of your department, the services that you're offering, the resources that you're offering. So like that's how I see it. And that
Yeah.
sounds really simple, but it's actually really hard because the business economics are going to change because your revenue in is going to change. Your revenue out is already changed by $20.5 million. So
Yeah.
as we think about it, we have to be nimble enough to be fluid, but every department has to think about what business economics are we operating from in 2025, 26 academic year.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have to reevaluate that on in 2026 because inevitably, we haven't even touched on the transfer portal. The transfer
Oh, yeah.
portal plays a huge deal in this too.
Yeah.
Everything is tied. So we've got to be, to your point, athletic departments have to be more nimble than ever, right? And you've got to be able to say, okay, this is how we're going to operate in 2025, 26, knowing that we're going to lose some kids to the transfer portal. We're going to get some kids from the transfer portal. And this is going to affect our economics in X, Y, and Z way.
Right.
And then that's
Well,
going to affect how we operate in comms, how we operate in student services, how we operate, like all of that
yeah.
business economics has to be pretty um, dialed in so that you can then share that information down so that people can make informed decisions based on the economics of the department.
Totally. And I think what we're going to see even more so to take it like to that next level is the reason that we're going to have to see this change is your biggest providers of revenue are not going to change. Right?
Correct.
You may add a new one,
Hmm.
but football will for inevitably will always be your biggest draw. They play in the biggest stadiums, they have the biggest contracts for TV, they have the most players on the team, the whole nine
Hmm.
yards. If you have a down year in football, and you lose all that revenue because now all of a sudden people are not coming to your games for one reason or another. I mean, this is it, the ties. It's funny to me because for the longest time, college athletics was on this pedestal because it didn't really operate within the rules of regular anything,
Hmm.
right? if I'm a business, if I'm a corporation and I have an arm of my business that is running at a deficit every year, unless there is a very strategic reason for that to be okay, I'm nixing it, right? And we've seen that knee-jerk reaction. A lot of
Yes.
schools, especially in some of the
Yeah.
lower divisions, have said, we're cutting sports. And look, we get it, but that has a butterfly effect onto other things, other teams, other conferences, right? When we
Right.
start extrapolating it out to conference realignment and relegation and up and down, it's it's a lot bigger from the 30,000 foot view. And I think the challenge we have, we being anyone in athletics, is that, and this is going to bring it full circle to the beginning of our conversation, is that we have to communicate to the lowest common denominator, which is the vocal minority,
Hmm.
right? Or the vocal majority who doesn't have the information to be vocal intelligently, right?
Right.
So we have people who are going to fire off and complain and call out all these little things who have no clue what's going on behind the curtain, right?
Exactly.
Then you're going to have the business folks who are the moms and the dads, perceivably, again, for a lot of them, saying, I run a Fortune 500. I know exactly what's happening behind that curtain. You're doing it wrong. They're not going to be the ones super vocal about it publicly. So, what I find, and in any crazy transition, is that communication is key. So, I mean, and this is rhetorical, but how do we get it to a point where every level can have a basic enough understanding, foundational understanding, and then from there we level up. Can I run a law firm? No. Do I know they exist? Yeah. Do I know from whatever I saw on TV how it's structured? Yeah, for the most part, I'm pretty sure I could figure it out, logic and business sense, but am I ever going to be a lawyer? No. I didn't go to law school. Like, I have no business even walking into a law firm short of needing
Sure.
their services. So, if we look at it that way and we actually take formal business concepts and apply
Hmm.
them to the now much more corporatized uh, athletic departments, now all of a sudden we're cooking with oil, and we might actually make some money here. There's a reason professional teams are billion-dollar businesses
Right.
if you're running them correctly.
Right. Yeah. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a great, there'll be lots of case studies and chapters and textbooks written about the next 3 to 5 years of college
Yeah.
athletics, because I think there's going to be a rapid level of change. Those that innovate early and realize, and I think here's the other thing that I think, just like human nature, is that we need to, if we're going to make a change, it's got to be the right change. Well, we're never going to know that the change is going to be the right change, because
Hmm.
this model is going to keep evolving. I argue that those that are forward thinking enough to reimagine and reinvent, with the knowledge that this is going to have to be an ongoing evaluation, are going to win. They're
Hmm.
going to set themselves up to succeed, because it, you can't wait. You have to do
Yeah.
something. You have to show that you're on board with this and the innovation that comes with this. And so those that
Yeah.
even tip their toe in the water right now, I think have a leg up.
100%. I also think that there's a lot more forgiveness for those early movers, right? So
Correct.
if you do screw it up, you didn't fail, you learned, right? And
Right.
now maybe you went this way the first time, but now quick left and you're all the way back that way faster than you ever would have gotten there before.
Correct.
I think that's a great point. For people watching, what is a very reliable source of factual what's going on in NIL communications? Like, where should people get their information? Because again, there's a lot of garbage out there.
Yeah. So I think the best piece of information right now that we have that combines how the House settlement affects NIL is the College Sports Commission.
Okay.
Um, and they have done a fabulous job of putting information together that ties everything together. And so that would be my first stop. If I am trying to understand how the House settlement affects me, that's where I'm going first. College Sports Commission. And I believe it's collegesportscommission.org,
Okay.
collegesportscommission.org. I was just on it yesterday and they've done a really good job of building things out. I also think that if we're talking about NIL, I think Christy Dosh, she does a phenomenal job of, she works with a lot of high NIL earners across sport, and she just launched a book. She has a book coming out. It's called the NIL Playbook. It's a really good read for both, I think, the business aspect of it and also just like NIL at like in real time. So those are two resources that I would strongly encourage people to use.
Love it. Love it. We'll make sure that those links and kind of pathways get into the write-ups for this video when we launch it. Jessica, we've been talking for over an hour.
Yeah.
Just about an
So
hour, which is
fun.
insane. I know. It just flows. It's so
Yeah.
much fun to talk to smart people who have a clue and like are really in the weeds with all this stuff. And I'm super thankful that you made the time to be on Bright Ideas. Super fun day.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Absolutely. Well, that's a wrap on this episode of Bright Ideas. This is Jess Poole. I'm Jess Duemig, and we'll see you at the next episode.